Of organizers, family members, and survivors gathered at the steps of Foley Square today, calling for the rights of those incarcerated here in New York City jails to be protected. It comes after the Department of Corrections says that 47-year-old William Johnstone was found unresponsive in his cell at the George R. Vierno Center at Rikers Island this past weekend. According to the latest numbers from DOC, Johnstone is the 6th person to die in custody this year.
Why did he die? Nobody knows. How did he die? Nobody knows. But where did he die? Rikers Island, a.k.a. Torture Island.
The Department of Corrections says Johnstone had been in their custody since March of this year. Right now, the medical examiner is investigating his cause of death. And the family of Eric Tavera, the 17th inmate to die in or immediately following release from jail this year, joined prison reform advocates at City Hall to rally for the closure of Rikers Island. News 12's Jeanne Caldwell has more on what they're calling for.
Losing someone is one of the most undescribable pains my family, like many others, have ever experienced. And when you find out, it doesn't feel real.
The family of Eric Tavera is in anguish after he became the 17th inmate to die at Rikers Island or shortly after being released this year. Today, his mother and sisters wiped away tears, his aunt falling to her knees.
I'm trying to be hard for my mom. She doesn't deserve to go, no mother. She has to think about burying their kid.
They joined dozens of prison reform advocates on the steps of City Hall today, demanding the jail complex be shut down.
What do you want? Justice! When do you want it? Now!
The Department of Corrections says the 28-year-old committed suicide on Saturday.
When will we say enough is enough? Another life lost will not occur.
The infamous jail has been highly criticized for years for the conditions inside and practices like solitary confinement.
It's Death Island. No one goes there and comes back the same. Too many people are dying.
Gina Pondexter lost her brother, Robert Pondexter, who died shortly after being released from Rikers back in September. She says she knows the heartache Tavera's family is facing all too well.
I asked how many more? I'm tired of asking that question. Now it's who's next?
The Department of Corrections responding in a statement saying, "Our deepest condolences go out to Mr. Tavera's family, friends, and loved ones in their time of grief. We take the health and safety of everyone in our custody seriously, and we are conducting a preliminary investigation into this death." Tavera's family has since filed a wrongful death suit against the city as they continue to mourn him. They hope he can be remembered as a caring soul who was dedicated to helping others. At City Hall, Jeanne Caldwell, News 12.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. Today's guest or co-host, he's been on so many shows, Victor Pate. Welcome home, brother.
Thank you.
We
Thank
haven't
you
been
once
on
again.
in a while. We're fighting an old battle.
Yeah, a continuing battle at that. So thank you for having me once again, Winston.
Yeah. Well, this is a recent rally, isn't it?
Yes.
Foley Square.
Yesterday, as
last
a matter
week.
of fact. Yeah.
Well, the first piece was last week, and
Yeah.
the second part,
Right.
which nobody knows but
The
us.
week before.
The week before.
Two consecutive Tuesdays, the 11th and yesterday, the 18th.
So how many people on Rikers Island have died this year?
41.
41.
41.
So where's the 17 come in?
So that's in the 41. That's included in the 41. So between 2021 and up to now, you have a total of 41 people who have passed away in DOC's custody.
So when are they closing?
Well, as it stands right now, it was targeted to be closed in 2027. Of course, that was when the de Blasio administration had predicted the timeline to close Rikers Island. Now that we have a new administration in, they're now saying that that date, timeline, may not be possible.
Well, they're going to find some reason not to close it.
And
Where are you going to put the people anyway? That's
So-
another controversy.
so when they came up with they were going to close Rikers down, they had began construction on what they considered borough-based jails.
Right.
Every borough was supposed to have what they called a borough-based jail, except for Staten Island. And construction had begun. However, that construction has since ceased. I think for the last 3 years, they have done nothing to create these borough-based jails. So of course now they're using this as one of the tools to say we can't close Rikers Island by the timeline date. But then there's a lot of factors that go into why they're saying they can't close Rikers Island.
Well, you had COVID for 3 years.
Of course.
So that's altered everybody's life.
Of course.
Well, don't let the ladies sit there and not be introduced. This is another one of your
Yeah, this is
friends.
my good friend here, Sister Lynette Williams, who I met, and we kind of sort of like hit it off. We talked about a lot of things because we had a lot of the same experiences, you know, in different systems, but basically the same experiences. So I was so impressed by her, and you know, just by her personality, but in terms of what she expressed that she wanted to do. And I was so proud of her, what she done and what she has been doing since she's been home. And we kind of sort of like work together on some things, and we talk a lot about the different things that she's doing. I try to give her some suggestions and stuff, and you know, she takes off with it and she just goes with it. So I'm proud to introduce my good friend Lynette Williams.
Lynette Williams, you know, Victor and I have done shows for the last 10, 15 years.
About 15 years.
And he always brings me people who have went through the system. So this young lady has been through the system. And we're going to introduce her by, it's a roll-in number 3. I'll give you a little idea what she has experienced. She's a movie star from Hollywood. One of the successful persons who slipped, made a little slip after making all this money. She made a light alteration. Some important documents. And she got caught. She got caught. But she's smiling today after serving, what, 10 years?
Yes.
She learned her lesson the hard way. So after all that, you're home and happy, and you've been out how many years?
I've been out now for, well, when you're released from federal prison, there's a couple of outs. So you're out, but you're on home confinement, or you're at the halfway house. So I was in the halfway house technically for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was actually released from BOP custody 2021. That's when I was able to begin rebuilding my life. 2021, and we're here in 2023.
So let's introduce the story of from the suites to the streets. All right, run item 3.
You're priceless. It was absolutely amazing the way these banks were literally giving money away.
In her first year of hustling, using all of her real estate tricks, Cookie closed over 100 deals and made $4 million. Cookie was cooking with gas now.
This is a very sophisticated scheme, and because of her sophisticated means, she was harder to detect for a longer period of time.
It's really all about what you get away with. And you'd be surprised what is against the law. People break the law all the time because everybody does it. Just because everybody does it doesn't make it right.
Cookie! I love you too, baby. That's what you were supposed to be doing that.
Happy days, that's after 10 years. So we got the beginning and the end.
Right, right. Well, we don't have the end, right?
No.
Because we're still here.
No, it's a
We've
new
got
beginning.
a long road to cover at this point, but we are so blessed. I am blessed. I'm so thankful. You know, just that he saw to it that I make it through is amazing. Is amazing. Yeah.
Oh, God's on your side.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he definitely had me. Even when I didn't think that he was there, he was there. I don't know why I'm getting so emotional right now.
Because it's an emotional thing. To own up to your errors and your ways.
Yeah.
You always need God in there somewhere.
That's right.
You got to.
Sure.
If you stay sane,
Yeah.
that's the whole problem of being in prison.
Mm-hmm.
A little time I'd spent in the brig, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, staying sane. That's when I talk about coming through, I didn't feel like I faced any threats of death or anything like that. It was just coming through with a sound mind. That's what you pray for. That's I just ask God to sustain me, you know, through it and make me a better person. And if He didn't do that, you know, does it get better than this? I don't know, you know. But He definitely brought me through. He sustained my mental health, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for all of what I can do now, you know, and that I'm doing. So, yeah.
What is it that got you into this? What, greed?
Into
The
happened?
fraud that you.
Well, you know, my business was built. It was built with great intention, with the best intentions. I had my sons, you know, as officers of my company. And so, you know, as time was passing, we were about to enter into the recession. And this is a very long story short, just to shorten
We're
it.
talking about 2008.
2008. And so it became...
Obama became president. They gave him the presidency because they expected him to fail. It's because the economy was failing.
Did he? No, I'm just
He
kidding.
brought us through. He brought us through. If it wasn't for him, we would have had a real recession. He was a good businessman in the White House. Well, they wanted to let him fail. They were trying to give it to a black man.
Yeah.
Let him fall apart.
Yeah. And he inherited problems when he came in anyway.
Yeah.
Because like any administration, you always inherit what the predecessor has already laid. And of course, when he came into that, it was in shambles.
That was 8 years of Bush.
Right. Yeah.
And Cheney, don't forget about Cheney.
Right.
Yeah. The secret president. All right.
Yeah, so we entered into the recession, and you know.
So tell us about this organization you've got going, Women Unsilenced.
Women Unsilenced, and we will be changing the name to Women Unsilenced when we cut at the point that we cut the ribbon. And so Women Unsilenced is a women's organization, and it serves to empower our trauma-impacted women and their families with tools and support to help them regain their sense of self-worth after a trauma. And we do it with financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and self-care. Yes,
Ooh,
and so we've taken on a whole youth space at this point, because we have an entrepreneurship program that was written by Repurpose Thinking, LLC, and so they've donated to, which I'm president and CEO of, they've donated the program to Women Unsilenced to administer to the kids. And so we have some summer youth employment program children, and they're all in school, and we're bringing them through the program, the entrepreneurship program. So it's a blessing to be able to do that. The program centers around developing the mindsets of our youth to cultivate a spirit of entrepreneurship, teach them what entrepreneurship is, the life skills, the same skills that are required for entrepreneurship are required for life's transformations. And so they're gaining thick in
Did you
it.
have a vision when you were in prison
For this,
for something
no,
like
I
this?
came home toting my business plans, and I knew where I was going. I had my, my plans for financial wealth again, and
Okay.
but God put the brakes on me, and He said, He laid it on my heart so heavy I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't
okay.
think about,
Okay.
my own
Making money.
personal wealth. I just couldn't even think about it, and I'm still here in this space with my organization and my business that now centers around the organization, and I still have my business plans
Okay.
for wealth, and I'll get to them when He releases me.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah,
You got to pay your dues. huh?
yeah,
Oh, that's beautiful.
lovingly paying it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. With good heart.
That's-
Yes.
And I just want to add in is that's one of the sayings that we have in the coalition movement is that, and she's a prime example of that, right? Is that the people that are closest to the problem are closest to the solution.
Right.
And speaking to that issue in itself, in terms of, transformation, rehabilitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second chances and redemption, especially those of us who have been impacted by the criminal legal system, to come out and give back to our communities and
Yeah.
create opportunities and platform for others so that they don't have to go down the road to learn the lessons that we learned, the way we learned it. And so
okay.
that we are closest to the problem, we are closest to the solution, because we know what the ingredients are that needed to put in to help people come out of
Yeah.
those holes that they may be in a time, but also for them to be a beacon and a direction for others. So
Yes.
she's a prime example
And
of
what's
that.
so great about that is that we don't have all the answers. We absolutely don't have all the answers. But what He lays on your heart is so heavy that when you follow it, you can't go wrong. It's going to serve a purpose. It's going to fill a gap. And
Right.
and I've committed myself to that.
Yeah.
Just to be guided. Just to be guided. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Good. It's always redeeming to watch people that have gone through this trauma. Let's talk a little bit about your mainstay, solitary confinement. I have an old piece of yours. Run item 2 for us.
That's when I met Victor, actually. I was just coming.
Out of solitary confinement?
No.
Oh, God.
Actually, I was just
No,
being
that-
released from BOP custody 2021, I believe. And I
That was the
joined-
year we got the bill
Yeah,
passed.
and I joined
Ah,
exactly.
okay.
And I joined their committee just before the bill passed because I wanted to learn advocacy. I wanted to learn what it was. I wanted to become, at the time, an effective advocate. So, and our organization stands for that. We're about reentry, as reentry is actually part of the vision for Women on Silence. We have this profound vision to end mass incarceration and homelessness and reduce recidivism with our programs and services at Women Unsilenced.
One of the main reasons I play this item is because I think we as black people have to understand the struggle of being black in America. And one of the struggles are we're in last place in most instances, and we have this vision of ourselves that's not very good, or at least most of the youngsters, and you lack knowledge of your history. You have to understand that people in the Bible were black, Moses was black. We've been buffooned all these many years, When I learned out Santa Claus was actually a black man, wasn't real. I believed in Santa Claus, and I lived in
That was a disappointment, right?
fantasy time. Fantasy time. Leroy and I talking. Leroy's 82 also.
Right.
We're talking about Santa Claus on 125th Street in the 40s.
Okay.
And he said he wanted to go sit on his knee.
Right. You're right.
So the visions of Santa Claus today and the visions of being black in America are still a baffling puzzle to most youth. And solitary confinement is a test of your
That's a test of a lot of stuff.
God and the devil in you. I talk about that a lot. So play item 2, and we'll come right back at you. This is Victor Pate talking about solitary confinement.
I think that by me doing this work, by me telling the story, by me being able to express my horror, my suffering that I suffered while I was in solitary confinement, makes me a good advocate because I can express it, and people, when they hear it and they see it, they can feel it. My name is Victor Pate. I am the New York statewide organizer for the New York City Campaign for Alternatives to Isolated Confinement. Right now, as I sit here and talk, I'm transformed back to the yard. It gets easier, but it's the reliving that story that you tell. It doesn't take but a moment to be in the yard, to be transformed back to that yard. Most of the time, you hear people banging on the walls, or you hear people talking to themselves. You may hear that, and you may hear nothing. What led me into this, I can say almost reluctantly, my experience of 15 years of incarceration in our New York State prisons and jails. My first actual campaign that I was involved in was basically to abolish Rockefeller drug laws, which was one of the worst drug laws that ever came out, and it affected so many people, disproportionately people of color. It devastated communities, it devastated people's lives, and I just knew there was something that I had to do. Solitary confinement does not help the safety, does not help the security, and it definitely does not help anyone who has mental health issues. This is not an answer to corrective behavior. So we ask people to do an action once they attend our meetings. Take this conversation to someone else. We need the public to get involved. We need the public to call their legislators. We need the public to call these prisons and jails. Everybody can do something to help the cause, but the most important thing is that you do something about this horrible condition and situation that we're dealing with and the treatment that people in our prisons and jails are suffering under right now.
The reason why I play that is that knowing Victor as who he is today, I can't see him as ever being a gangster, a stick-up man. My man Victor, a stick-up man?
Right.
For little guys, you got to watch the little guys. The little guys are fast.
But I got saved, so to speak, you know, a lot of
Tell us what you went to prison for.
Fortunately.
I never heard that story.
You never heard my story as much as we talked?
I don't remember. I'm losing my memory.
Well, I mean, you know, I was out in the street, the drugs, the guns, the robberies, the kidnapping. I mean, I done all of that stuff.
Victor?
Yeah, I did all of that stuff. I'm saying, you know, but I look at that in actuality, like what happened as a result of me winding up behind those walls, it saved me from myself.
Okay.
And I look at that, and I use that, and that's propelled me to eventually come to a point in my life when I had to really do some introspection, right? And had to come to a conclusion that I know I couldn't continue to do that because I couldn't continue to survive or be able to survive in that environment, and that eventually one or two things was going to happen: the graveyard or spend the rest of my life in jail, and I didn't want to do that. So I had to come to some real decisions on what I was going to do with my life, right? And like I say, I said to my higher power that if you let me survive this here, I would do something different with my life. And that's why I look at that as a moment of being saved from myself, because I was on a self-destructive course, right? But I also knew that I wasn't going to get so many chances. You know, I mean, I knew that eventually your chances run out. Your opportunities run out. And if you continue to do the same things after you've been given mercy, eventually you're not going to get that mercy, because that mercy can be used on somebody else who's going to be willing to use that mercy. And I know a lot of my friends and people that I grew up with didn't get that chance because they got to the graveyard. I got to the penitentiary. So to me, I use that as, he saved me from myself, because he could have sent me somewhere else.
How much time do you spend in solitary confinement again?
So in a cumulative period, it was like about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, and that's over a period of time.
Okay.
And my longest one stint was like 90 days.
Oh, okay.
And that 90 days really, really transformed me. Mentally, physically, and spiritually.
What is?
I've never been the same. I was never the same, and I am not the same as a result of that experience.
90 days in solitary
That's
confinement.
right.
Did it for you.
Yeah. That was like, I guess it really gave me an opportunity to really, really think deeply on life itself and what I wanted to do if I was able to get out of this alive. Because that moment and space and time of being in solitary confinement, that solitude, that loneliness, that sense of abandonment, that losing all hope, a lot of people don't come back from that.
Right.
A lot of people do not come back from that. They are not themselves anymore. They are incapable of relationship, incapable of communication, and incapable of functioning in society. And that's the only purpose that solitary confinement serves: punishment, dehumanization, and to cause you not to be able to function. And sometimes people come out and they are incapable of functioning.
Yeah.
God gave me a shot
Mm.
and allowed me to make it through that alive and to come out and be able to do what I'm able to do right now. Not that I'm unscathed, because I think that healing process is still ongoing for me.
Now, how many years ago was that?
25.
25 years ago.
25 years
and
ago.
you're still.
I still have collateral damages. Yes, I do.
Sure.
I'm not fully healed. But this work
Cookie, you've only been out a
is
couple
healing.
of years.
Yeah.
But you didn't go through the solitary confinement.
I didn't have solitary confinement,
But
but you know,
being confined was.
that was enough. Just enough. Never
more
mind
than
the
enough for
solitary
me.
part, right?
There was no jacuzzi tubs in
That's
there.
right.
I'm sorry, I had one. And
That's right.
But
What
no,
is it like having all that money, all that glamour, and then suddenly stuck in a
right.
stuck in a hole?
That part, that's it was devastating. I mean, it's needless to say, it was just absolutely devastating. But you know, I didn't come from money, you know. So I mean, I had my parents. Well, I'm talking about, you know, I struggled in my life. I was a single mom, you know. I literally struggled, and I had my struggles with my 2 children, as a single parent, you know, and I earned my life. I earned a good life, you know. I made some. When it started getting tight, you know, I had to make decisions. Am I going to sink or am I going to swim? And the decision I made landed me in prison. So.
How bad was it?
How bad was prison?
No, how bad was the mistake that you made?
Falsifying documents.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, you know, I don't know how you measure how bad was it. It's always the consequence.
You got your 10 years.
It's not even so much how bad was the actual act of what I did. It's the consequence that it cost. It was wrong, and so when something is wrong, there's a consequence. So no matter what it is, you have to pay whatever that is. And even the consequence may or may not be fair, of course, and especially with our system. And maybe, let's just say it's not fair that you would give somebody 10 years for that, but...
Were you targeted? Do you feel you were targeted?
That's a space that I want to bypass, if that's okay, because, you know, if it were not me, they would have given that time to my son.
Oh.
And so, because my son was the CEO of my company. So I don't care that I was targeted. I don't care about anything except that they didn't give that time to my child. So so I had a whole other perspective going in. There was no fear. I didn't have any fear. I'm mommy, you know. I stood up to make sure that my son wouldn't get that time. They ended up giving him some time anyway, which was absolutely ridiculous. But when you're a mother and you're protecting your child, especially when you were responsible, that is the most. There's no greater. You can't take a greater pounding than that. So did I need to go to prison? Absolutely not. I was already pounded by just being responsible for, you know, my son being in the throes of a courtroom and all of that, and actually facing time. So prison was light for me in that respect.
Okay.
Please understand, in that respect, as a mother, you know. Yeah, so.
No.
But on another from another perspective, it's not easy. It's not easy. You leave everything you know, and yes, I had built a life that, I mean, I had an empire, like really, you know, and it was gone, just gone. And that left my sons to figure it out, you know? So collateral damage was great. Collateral damage was great. On my way home, you know, where everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do. Some people are afraid, and I never had any fear. I knew God had me.
Okay.
I knew.
All right.
I knew. You know, and we don't want to, as God-fearing individuals, we don't want to get in a space of being cocky about knowing that we're going to be all right. But I will say that I knew God had me. I knew that I was going to be all right.
Well, I've always been cocky about God. I know God's got my back.
Yeah, but you know, it's important to stay, for me, it's important to be humble.
Okay.
Because I need to, you know, it's a good place, especially coming from where I had managed to get in my life, you know. And the people inside, like, what, you know, people always ask me, why are you always smiling? I mean, I smiled inside. I didn't kind of, well, actually, they said I had this other face on, but I was okay. I was okay.
Well, it takes that sort of strength to get through those.
And like Victor said, that mental space to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're helping people now, just talking about it. And you found
therapy,
a calling.
this therapy.
And he found a calling.
Yes.
And here we are giving our calling. This is my calling here. And with that.
Everybody find their space and place, right? Right?
What's up next?
By whatever road we got there. Or we had to travel to find it, right?
Yes.
I wish I didn't have to travel that road to find this space. But
and I want to give a shout out to the 50 Plus Club.
And look at what you're doing with your the young lady you brought here today.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to bring one of our. We have, and thanks New York City for blessing my organization with Summer Youth. And so we have the Summer Youth employees at Women Unsilenced, and they're learning so much. And I was able to bring one of them here with me tonight, and she's out there in the control room. Okay, because Summer Youth Summer Youth at Women Unsilenced is a little bit different when I was growing up. Because Summer Youth I was a part of Summer Youth when I was young. And you know, we get what we're supposed to get. We sit there, we do, you know, the little filing and stuff that we had filing back in the days.
Right.
And so,
with real paper, right?
But you know, I wanted to make Summer Youth a different experience than what I had, and I want to expose the youth to some other things. You know, there's a lot more to life than just going to school and coming home or just going to a party. You know, there's the arts, there's theater, the arts is theater, right? But there are just so many other things to do. And so that's what I'm doing with my youth and bringing them here to the podcast studio. To experience. She's in a control room. So, you know, thank you for that too.
I think this is one of the best things to expose anybody to.
This is awesome.
Television.
Media.
It's a calling of mine, you know. I was just talking about Gil Noble. That's the only reason I sit here today. My man Gil.
He was inspired, right?
Oh man, that was my man. Oh God. I mean, I idolized. I really idolized him because he gave so much information about us as a people. And that's what I try and do here, follow his lead. And let's play this one item on Malcolm. I think it's number 4. Does he have that? And this is a piece I used to play every show I did in the early days. I've been going back to my old self, and I see myself 20 years ago when I had black hair.
Right.
And I had a forehead of
Yeah,
hair.
right. You had the afro. You had the afro?
Yeah, I had a fro.
Yeah.
You should see the one I got from 73.
Right.
When I was in corporate game.
Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Now, imagine being around an individual like that.
Coming up,
Malcolm. Right? I was 24 when Malcolm died.
Okay.
I'd spent 4 years in the Marine Corps and been around a little bit around the world and been around crackers. I was the only black man around all these crackers. I was in the Marine Corps, you know.
And I know how racist it was then.
Oh, I'm talking about 1960. So this Malcolm thing here hits home. So now today I'm at the ballot of the bullet. You know, and I want to talk about voting and the nonsense I hear out here about black people not voting and why they don't vote. I had one guy in the supermarket tell me that he wanted to see Trump
Re-elected?
Re-elected.
Oh,
and that Trump gave more money to black colleges than any other Democrat. You know, we had people like that walking around the streets, alive and well. I mean, back in the day, you know, but see, most black people don't understand how Trump has totally confused anything, everything. He brought out the racism. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Malcolm and Martin. And Malcolm and Martin were fighting amongst each other during my day. I mean, Malcolm was calling Martin a punk. And he outlived Malcolm. But, you know, all the good guys seem to die at 39. Malcolm, Martin, and Medgar Evers in 63. Right. So this is our history. And the history of black people is also taught in what we strive for. When we're greed and selfishness and materialism can get the best of us, when we're spiritual people. We're the God-chosen people that survive being black in America. You're truly the survival of the fittest. And prison is one of the tests. And I think you two, having come out and through it, is a testament to the spirituality within you. And to survive being black in America, I'm 82, and I have had to go through some stuff. And the drug element is always there for you. I mean, from drinking to all of them. And these are, I always go through this, the 80s and the planned genocide of crack. And we see the after effects of crack throughout Harlem. The 80s decimated a whole 2 generations of humans. And all these tests that we go through, and we still fight the most amongst each other. And this, we got to put a stop to it, especially these days. Now is the time to get serious about voting.
That's right.
about voting.
And you know what I'm doing with that.
All right. So, I mean, we got to teach people who get out of prison that don't believe in the system, don't believe there's hope for us. Let the white man run crazy and there'll be a revolution afterwards. This is what this fool told me about Trump. He expects a revolution. I mean, damn, how stupid can you be?
Well,
don't you know if it goes down, where do we wind up?
Right.
As always.
Not in such a good space and place, I'll tell you that. Especially when they manufacture all of the weapons. We don't manufacture the weapons, so you know what that means for us.
I ain't going nowhere with no gun.
Right.
No gun. Any gun. To say it properly. With no gun, you understand what I mean. Because it's the ballad of the bullet. That's why I played Malcolm. Malcolm came, and yeah, people don't understand how legit Malcolm was. He went through prison and came out a spiritual human being. Look at what he did with incarceration. There's an example of somebody rising to the occasion. He came out and became a leader of his people. And he was the most honest amongst them all. And they were jealous because he was so straight-laced.
Yeah.
He was a Taurus, you know, determined that when you go straight, you go all the way.
That's right.
That's right.
You know what not to do. You know what doing wrong can get you, whether you get caught or not. You should know that you can't be unrighteous, and I mean, God is love, and devil is hate. It's that simple.
And that's why oftentimes, you know, and I say this for myself, and I always say this to myself, that, you know, I had to go someplace to find myself. And oftentimes God sends us to those places so that we can find ourselves, so that we can discover what our mission is in life. And all the times, you know, we're not focused on that because we're so focused on other things. And oftentimes we have to, you know, we have to be stopped, you know what I'm saying? Or we have to be sent someplace so that we can have that moment of thought and introspection so that we can find what our purpose in life is. And I know for myself that had I not been sent where I was sent, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
No, I'll have to
if I would have been able to survive.
I'll have to say. Well, I did have a nonprofit. Well, it wasn't a nonprofit. It was an organization. Because I don't even remember if I had gotten my status at that point. It was in 2009. And so I always wanted to help, you know, young women in particular, young women between the ages of 15 and 21 was the organization that I had built in 2009, and we taught we taught diversity, health and wellness, and financial literacy. So I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to give back in some way. But where I am now with it is a whole other place that I know I wouldn't have been, because now this is about community. It's about building community. For me, it's about being part of a community. That nonprofit that I had then, I funded it myself. So it wasn't, you know, you miss so much. When you have money, you really miss a lot. There's a lot that you miss. You miss being in community with your brothers and sisters. You miss what is missing when you're not in community. So where I am now in this with my organization and my business, it is I'm just grateful. Like I missed so much. You build a bubble when you live in that space, and sometimes it's necessary. You know, I mean, we can't see Jay-Z walking through Brownsville every other day. You know, I mean, that's not realistic. You know, for many reasons. So you do have to kind of move on, and you become. But in that space, you become detached to a degree. So I'm grateful for being. I live right in Brownsville. So at this point, I never would have lived in Brownsville otherwise. I have to tell you, first of all, I grew up in Queens.
Okay.
And I'm from the Bronx. So, no, I would not have been in Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Well, it's gentrified now.
No, Brownsville is not. I mean, they're doing what they're doing. There's no Starbucks within 3 miles of me. So, you know, but yeah, they're gentrifying. I live in a really nice, a great new building. I do have a nice space. And, but you know, it's just being part of the community, you know. I like that. I like being part of the community.
Yeah.
It's why I wrote my program the way it's written for the BIPOC community. That's Black, Indigenous, people of color. You know, there are things that we are missing in our community. And not even things that are missing, but the things that are present are a hindrance to us. Limiting beliefs, you know, generational trauma. There's so much that we deal with as a people. And you don't think about these things when your house sits on a hill. Just saying, you know.
Well, I was raised on Sugar Hill.
you were still on the ground.
Right.
Sugar Hill was up there.
Right.
My wife's from the valley.
Yeah.
I ask her about that all the time.
I remember
that was actually the name
we used to raid Sugar Hill.
Amsterdam Avenue on 147th Street.
We used to raid Sugar
Hill.
We would come from the valley and raid Sugar Hill and go back to the valley. Because
you had to get you a valley girl.
Y'all
right?
had it.
No, they were too rowdy down there.
Right.
I was to meet them at a Colonial Pool.
Colonial, yeah, that was the meeting point. That's right. I remember that. I remember that.
Oh my God.
Harlem's quite a place. See, I was born in 1941, 3 blocks from the Apollo Theater. When you had trolley cars on 125th Street, I talk about, I'm getting old, because it's, me and my wife talk about how nice it was back in the day, in the 50s. We come from the same soda shop. I told this story. She remembers me swinging from a lamppost on a Friday night. I had some Thunderbird in me.
You was wild.
I was singing in the rain. This is a dance routine.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I was a dancer back then.
Right.
We were kids. We were Latin lovers. Beverly, we talk about those days and how much fun we used to have. We had social clubs. And she was in, I forgot the name of her club, all these girls. And we had Les Messieurs. I don't know if I told this story before, probably. But that was the 50s in New York, you know, and it was fabulous. And we had Red Rooster on the corner and Jocks on that one corner, on 37th Street and 7th Avenue. When West Indian Day Parade used to come down 7th Avenue in the 50s. And that was quite a place. And all the white people wanted to be black.
Right.
Because we were singers.
Something changed?
Huh?
Something changed? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Trump.
Right.
And he was a chump. You know, and it's amazing how people follow him. It really shows you the madness in America, watching Trump. How he bamboozled people, how he's bamboozling people now. But this is a setup. This is a setup for us to stay sane through all this madness and bring out our loving energy.
Right.
To love one another. I mean, we as people, we have this biggest problem amongst each other, fighting over whether Trump should be president or not, or if it's going to go down and we're going to revolutionize. I'm arguing with this fool and got annoyed at him because he thinks it's the white man's going to drag us down. And we're going to rise up. Oh, God, you can't.
They're waiting for that.
Oh, man.
Revolution.
Waiting for that.
Revolution.
Revolution. You better
see
learn how to vote.
Yeah.
And
that's
these are the people that get where we. Don't you know, fool? That's what he wants you to do. I mean, look how bamboozled we are as a people. I'm thinking the white man's going to kill us, kill himself off. You go first. But that's a youthful mind, an ambitious mind. To think that we have to settle our own problem and solve the problems we have amongst each other. And it's a love energy. I mean, I remember the old days when we treat each other like kings and queens. I mean, it was so nice coming up in New York in the 50s. And I've got a wife that I can sit back and talk to because we live the same scene.
Right.
Nice.
And that's why
So
we
happy
need
wife, happy
more
life.
programs like Sister Lynette is developing.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about taking care of the community and bringing the resources, educational-wise, the communal thing that she spoke about, which is why we need these programs and we need to support these programs as a community. Important thing that you said, community taking care of community, because we can't expect the system to take care of us.
That's
And we have a responsibility to take care of our community and ourselves. And like Sister Lynette here, with what she's doing for our youth and what she's doing in the community and highlighting and amplifying and supporting what she's doing. You know what I'm saying? So this is like one of our jewels in the community, if you will.
This is normal for you, man. You always bring angels and kings and queens to the show here.
I try. I do my best. I try to create a platform.
Producer Victor Pate. Here comes Victor again. You got a good one. Oh, we had a guy in there. Oh, we got a guy coming up, 47 years in prison.
Oh.
I'm dying to do that one.
New York?
Yeah. Didn't you tell me about it?
Wait a minute.
Shabazz?
Oh, Shabazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shabazz.
47 years.
Yeah. He's a member of the National Action Network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I've talked to him. He's quite sane.
Brother Shabazz.
I mean, he's old school, cocked hat,
Yeah.
and he's still got his cockiness. To survive 47 years in prison and come out sane, well, I don't think you can come out sane. You're a product of your environment, right?
You go through
44 years, Muhammad.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah,
we had him on. Another guy.
You go through it.
He did 44. He was on. I brought him on the show too. He survived it. He's short like me. We both like about the same height. 44 years. I just look at people.
24.
No, 44.
44.
Muhammad, remember? We did the show with him.
There was somebody else at 40.
No, that was him. That's Muhammad.
Yeah,
44 years. Yep, him.
Ah,
remember, me and him about the same height.
That's years ago.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that one?
Yeah. And I'm like, I just look when people say, how much time you did? And you hear them say that, but then you listen to them talk. And you're like, what? How you do that kind of time and you articulate?
Yeah.
And you like on point, you don't stumble, you don't mumble, you very clear and precise. And I just look. Because I don't know if I could have did that. I really don't. I don't know. That's a task. But like you said, you know, that to see people go through this here, right? People like us, you know, experience that, what we experience and the horrors and the abuses and all of the things that go on, psychological torture that we go through, and to come out and be able to function. We won. We won.
Well, look at 400 years of slavery.
Yeah.
And we come out sane. That's the whole true point. We're God's children.
Right.
Yeah. And we have to recognize that. That's why I always say the God in me loves the God in you. Hallelujah. Have some church music going. And you Google my last name, Gilchrist. It means Christ's servant. I Googled it yesterday.
You did?
Yeah, it said Christ's servant.
Right.
I was taught when I was in school that meant worker for Christ. Or Christ's servant, same different. But
pretty much.
It's interesting. But we do all this to say stay sane, and it's the ballot or the bullet. Vote. It's the most important thing you can do for yourself. And don't hide from the censors. I mean, you're going to have 10 years now to make up to that. And don't hide from, and be nice to people. You get niceness from being nice.
Yes, for sure.
And smile.
You reap what you sow.
Took me a long time to find that out.
You put it in right, it comes out right. What else we got?
That's right.
And be happy. You want to stay young and look young, laugh a lot. That ingredients that feed your system, that's why I look young. I laugh a lot. Because this is funny stuff here. I tell you, you got some funny people out there. I got to laugh at them all. I'm not going to get angry anymore. 'Cause this is stupidness. You stupid enough to think like that? That's our problem. There are too many people thinking like that. Thinking that, oh, God. And they're young people. Below 50 is young. Because I don't think you really wake up until 50. I didn't. And then I went straight, and straight as an arrow since. But I've been here 25 years doing this. It's my calling.
There you go.
And we have a few minutes left. As a female, how do you feel the struggle of incarceration gets to females? But you were protecting your sibling. Your child.
Who was innocent.
Well, women do awful kind of sacrifices for their children.
Yeah. You know, I heard the word target. I think it was you. And, you know, low-lying fruit, we've all heard of that. And
they figure putting you in prison would drive everybody crazy anyway. Right?
There's so many of us are in there. Can't even imagine. Many just like me. Many that are innocent, that did not do anything.
Yeah, we never talked about that.
We didn't talk about it.
We're
The
gonna
many
have a guy
women,
on
the many
next week.
women that finally decided to stand up for themselves because, you know, they were being beaten. So they finally picked up a frying pan, hypothetically, and whacked the person that was beating them, and now they're violent offenders. Such unfairness, such unfairness, such unfairness. And not only that, but women are being incarcerated at a higher rate, mass incarcerated at a higher rate than men.
That's right.
Over the past 2 to 3 decades. That is, there's a lot of underlying messages happening. There's a lot of, it's hard to make blanket statements about the system and about who's incarcerated and why. It's just hard.
And with that, the God in me loves the God in you. And to me, anyway, God's a woman. It's a chicken and egg theory.
Right.
Who came first?
That's funny.
All right. God bless. Peace and power.
Good night.
That was fun.
Awesome.
We off camera?
Well, he can cut it wherever.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.